Folks, lots to talk about this week. Here's our roundtable. Deborah Mathis, Director of Communications for the Public Justice Foundation. MSNBC contributor Jeff Johnson, Mr. Smooth. The right side political commentator Armstrong Williams, that's one busy tie. And we are so glad Cornell Belcher dressed up for us this week. He normally doesn't wear a suit and tie and dress shoes. Of course, he's Obama 2012 poster, and you often see him on CNN talking about Herman Cain and booty calls. All right, let's get right to it, folks. Newt Gingrich is all of a sudden a man. Where in the hell did he come from?
He never went anywhere. I mean, and I think that's the thing. He was always the consistent, grumpy old man who, one, brought reason in a lot of cases, two, really is one of the smartest people on the panel, which isn't difficult to do with this panel, but knows politics better than anybody else on the panel as well, which I think was a prescription for him always being there at the end.
But he's also a benefit of other folks being disqualified. I mean, he's now the winner of the anyone but Mitt Romney merry-go-round.
Because at first it was Michelle Bachmann wins Iowa, then Perry gets in, he goes high, then everyone's going has his oops moment.
But what's important here, and Armstrong can probably speak to this better than I can, but what looks like is going to happen is that conservatives really are going to rally around Newt, and there's enough conservative anti-Romney out there that I got to tell you, going into Iowa, especially when you go down to South Carolina, Newt's going to be a problem for Mitt Romney.
You know, listen, so much of the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate, in many ways, just really despise Gingrich. Wow. They just tremble because they remember him. Remember when he was in the House, when he became Speaker. Remember the number of coups against him within his own leadership. Whether it was Boehner, whether it was Bob Livingston, they were trying to overthrow him. They just feel that he's so smart, he throws out 1,000 ideas and maybe 2 will work, and he's all-knowing. And his ego, but still, in terms of his qualifications, in terms of his intellect, he has that. But you know what this is like? It's like a beauty contest. Herman Cain gave him all the ammunition to take him out. Now can Newt Gingrich withstand the criticism? And the criticism that I'm talking about is the fact that he is one of the reasons why Obamacare was passed. Conservatives will not forgive him for that. He benefited from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac while condemning it at the same time while he was a candidate. I mean, he made $43 million. I don't see how he can defend that. And until Newt Gingrich meets the test and is well vetted like these other candidates, I say wait and see.
You spoke of these ideas he threw out this week in Iowa. He had this to say, which was kind of interesting.
Start with the following 2 facts. Really poor children in really poor neighborhoods have no habits of working and have nobody around them who works. So they literally have no habit of showing up on Monday.
Y'all just take it away.
Let me say, when I saw that, I had to ask permission. I wanted permission to try to say what I really want to say, but it's not allowed on anybody's air, not on cable, not on broadcast.
So Jordan Carlin just took care of that, huh?
That's right. It's one of those words. But I got to tell you, this is not new for Gingrich. This is not a new line of thinking for him. He did this kind of thing about black entrepreneurship way back many years ago when he was still Speaker, with a group of black journalists, no less. And so he is not... he's not new to insulting whole groups of people, be it because of economics, ethnicity, religion, whatever, and lumping everyone together and missing the boat completely. He knows not of which he speaks whatsoever.
I think it's indicative of a group of people's thinking as it relates to poor people.
Sure it is.
That poor people don't go to work, that poor people don't work hard, that some way, shape, or form
and let's be clear, when we say poor people, we didn't say black people.
No, we didn't.
We're talking about poor white people, poor Hispanics, poor Native Americans.
And you and I both know, Roland, that there are some young people that are in some of the poorest communities that watch parents work 2 and 3 jobs to keep the lights on.
Right.
Yeah, that learn work ethic. Hold on, because I know you're going to go there. That gain work ethic. And the reality is, if you want to start talking about black folks, a lot of us who are now, quote unquote, middle class, learned work ethic from folks that came out of the hood. So that speaks to their disconnect from the reality of what happens in a lot of poor communities.
Absolutely, and we're middle class, but mama was a man.
You know what, listen, what you're saying is absolutely true. And no matter what former Speaker Gingrich's intentions were with what he said, these communities do need role models. They do need men to set examples. They do need to stop these babies out of wedlock. We've got to stop this dropout rate. We need better examples.
That's not what he said, though. He didn't. That's not where he went. He said they don't see people working,
and in many instances they don't see people working. That is still a part of that community.
About the balance,
and that's what we're trying to do.
And that's
you're
not
right, and he's right.
I don't see anyone working on Wall Street. But they're certainly getting paid. What are they creating on Wall Street? And it's this attack on the poor that just boggles my mind. This constant attack on the poor and protecting the 1%. What has Wall Street done? What is Wall Street creating? What work are they doing? How are they building anything in this country right now?
You talked about where Gingrich was when he was Speaker of the House. I recall that one of the reasons they lost the House was because suburban white women saw Gingrich and the GOP as attacking poor people, attacking minorities. And so when then Governor Bush came in with compassion and conservatism, they liked that because they said, finally, a conservative who comes across as being empathetic.
That was the soccer mom moment.
Right. No, but isn't he making a mistake, though, of going back to the very thing that got him in trouble, that caused those same soccer moms to say, you know what, we don't like that language, Newt.
Newt Gingrich lost the leadership position because of his pettiness. We will never forget when he was on the airplane with Bill Clinton on the back of the plane, and he said he was relegated to the back of the plane like a small child. He was petty.
But I'm making the point, though, when it comes to politics, and that is when you are trying to appeal to independent voters, when you're trying to appeal to those white conservative women, if you come across as being such a bully, even dissing young poor people, how are they going? You're the guy.
He is not trying to appeal to independent voters and women right now. Right. He is trying to prove his ultra-conservative bona fides.
Gotcha.
That's what he's trying to do.
Well, what about what he said about immigration? That was not a conservative bona fide.
But he lost himself
and then he walked it back.
But he was writing what he said.
He lost himself
but you
for a
agree with
moment.
what he said. But you agreed with him.
But that aside,
yes,
of course.
From a macro standpoint, when you're looking at sort of voters here, there's two things that women voters cannot stand, and it is a real problem. They do not want an angry leader. You cannot be an angry or mean-spirited leader, and you can't be too overly arrogant. It turns voters off, particularly middle-class women voters off.
How does all of this help President Barack Obama? Clearly, the economy is still tough. Unemployment is now gone down to 8.6%, although adults are still walking out of the workforce. And, of course, Republicans are still saying, Romney's not our guy. How does it help the president?
Wait a minute. Let's not glass over this. Unemployment is now below 9%, and this is 21 straight months of job growth. But I'm asking the question, though, when you look at the drama within the GOP, when you look at anybody but Romney, how does that help the president?
The president has just given his signature to bail out Europe by supporting the IMF. It is mind-boggling to me that IMF, instead of bailing out third world countries, is now bailing out a first world country. And there are so many things that will play out. This is not about the GOP. This is about the president and his ideas, and just do less orating and find real jobs and turn this economy around.
I am so troubled about how unsophisticated we are in our understanding of the domino effect of economics and world economics. You let the European markets fail, and you watch what happens to the rest of it. You think this is not something that we should be concerned about, or something we should be involved in?
Until Europe realizes that they cannot retire people at the age of 55, 35-hour work weeks, and 6 weeks, they have to cut. Why are we going to save someone when they're going to continue the same policies that got them in this position in the first place?
To get to his question, your question was about how this is going to help President Obama.
Well, how does it affect President Obama?
How's it going to? Well, it's going to help him because even if, and I'm just talking about the sophisticated level, but still, human beings cannot transcend their humanity and their own tendency to follow human nature. And the thing is that the presidency, as high and lofty as it is still very much a popularity contest. And we are going to look at two very distinctly different personalities here in Barack Obama and Newt Gingrich. Should that be?
Gingrich?
Lord have mercy. Should that be the candidate?
I'll tell you how it's going to. Real simple, cut and chase. If they don't have the economy, they got nothing else.
This week we saw the Republicans in the Senate say basically, fine, payroll deduction, we don't care. And so it's interesting. Here you have a tax cut, and they said, fine, go ahead and go back up. Is this clearly where the GOP is saying we're not giving this president any win whatsoever?
But when did they imply that they wanted him to have a win? Exactly. I mean, we continue to act as if the tax piece is one thing. From the time that the Democrats allowed the Republicans to come back in and take the House, we saw them go gangster against the president in a way that I don't think we've seen a Republican majority go gangster on a president ever in the history.
Clear.
And even
without question.
Yeah,
and so they said we don't want this president to be successful. The fact that it keeps happening over and over again and seems to be surprising
You're saying
us
to me they were
makes
kinder
us
to
strange.
Bill Clinton? The GOP was kind of, come on, this is how it works, guys.
The GOP was more willing to negotiate within Congress.
Because he lost the House and the Senate. He did not have the clout.
You understand that it's still the approach of that
Obama,
Republican majority.
This president fundamentally does not understand how economics 101 works.
21 straight months of job creation.
Yes,
when he came in, we were losing 400,000 jobs a month. 21 straight months of job creation. He didn't get us into this mess. Your economic policies got in this mess. We didn't get in it overnight, and we're not going to get. We didn't get into it overnight. We won't get out of it overnight. But we're heading in the right direction now. He clearly understands economics.
The president
better
has
than
to learn something from the Chinese. You don't create
what, communism.
You don't create.
We are borrowing money from them.
The government has to create assets. Assets create real opportunities. The government cannot create jobs. It has to create a climate that is not overregulated where businesses can thrive.
While the
economy is overregulated.
While the Republicans were arguing about where was the president when they were arguing to do nothing, he was in Asia creating jobs for American citizens.
Where are they?
And so, really,
Deborah, final comment.
Where are they?
Deborah, final comment.
10 years. We've had 10 years of the Bush tax cuts.
$15 trillion deficit.
Keep
going.
Listen to what I'm saying.
And let's be honest, $5 billion of that, Bush tax cuts contributed to it. But go ahead, Deborah, final comment.
To what
20
I'm
seconds.
saying.
20 seconds.
We had 10 years of trying it the way that was supposed to be the miracle and the end all. And that is, give the money back to the people who create jobs and watch everything happen. And where are we after those 10 years?
Because he spent the money on state government.
That's
where the money is.
Right,
it was not spent in the economy.
Speaking of spending money, I'm about to go take some ads because we got to go.
Republican.
Deborah, Armstrong, Cornell, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.